Good evening. Another wee video. I actually made a video 2 nights ago, which I haven't uploaded. In fact, I've deleted. It was I'm sitting in this chair late at night for me, about 11:30. I'd just gotten to the last bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake and was very upset. um, and I made a scathing hot take video review. Well, no, not a review, but talking about it. But it was pretty rambling and not very. I needed to get it out of my system, but no one else needed to hear it. So here we are in relative darkness again. Oh, I was thirsty. Um, uh, got a game. Wario Land 3. This is like one of the best Game Boy Color games, I think. You had Super Mario Land, which really is kind of it's a pretty primitive platformer. It's got more in common with Super Mario Bros. Than it does with, say, Super Mario World. I wonder, actually, I'm saying that as if it came after Super Mario World, which it might not have done, because I'm not super clued up on my Super Nintendo dates, to be honest. But had more. Let's look. It had more in common with. I'm making less of a risk, but still some of a risk based on my knowledge. Making this comparison, had more in common with Super Mario Bros. Than Super Mario Bros. 3. That's Super Mario Land I'm talking about. And then Super Mario Land 2, which actually I don't know if I even like as much, but it certainly introduced more kind of unique elements. It was had more. It wasn't just a kind of Mario toned down for the Game Boy, which Super Mario Land arguably was, and especially graphically was like. I mean, I kind of like it. I like it, but you know, it's a starting point. And then Super Mario Land 3. Um, I do that an awful lot in videos, and I started doing it. I think I started doing it in the videos, and I've noticed myself doing it when I'm talking to friends and stuff now. Bad habit, maybe. Who cares? Anyway, Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land, which was again kind of the starting point for Wario Land, and then by Wario Land 2, and certainly, well and truly by this game, they'd made it something totally unique, and um, I suppose in a sort of I'm really thirsty. In a kind of what am I trying to say? I want to say facile, but in a kind of truistic way, in a trivial way, it the development of towards this game could not have happened on another console in a trivial way, because obviously, I mean, it only did um, develop that way. So there's not much. Getting overly philosophical, but not even like good philosophical. It did develop on the Game Boy, so what? But I think because how each of these games was kind of dealing with the limitations of the hardware, blah 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 blah. I'm really not. It's really not my strong suit. My head's up my arse. It's not my strength talking about this element of games. If I am really qualified to talk about games at all. I like this game. How about that? It's a really good game if I remember which one it is, because I have played Wario Land 2 and 3, and one of them I've played more than the other. I think it's this one. I meant to actually check before I did this so that I was waffling a bit less. Alas, I'm waffling. Um, yeah, I played this game, or the game that I replayed. The game I did play, I replayed a couple of years ago on my tablet on RetroArch or RetroArch emulator, which was okay. It wasn't great using the touch screen, this thing, for platforming. It's all very well playing like Pokemon on it or something, but an action game is wasn't ideal. I was When I think of it the way I talk about it to myself, as it were, um, was like I was conducting an experiment around this time. It was my first, well, it was when I started replaying old games quite deliberately, as if, to kind of chase these sorts of, these sense memory, well, not even so much sense memories as just involuntary flashes of a feeling that you suddenly momentarily associate with a game. And the thing with me is that most feelings like this, everyone has these feelings, momentary feelings or sensations or thoughts that immediately point to a place and a time. People have it with maybe music and things like that. But I have an awful lot of those with games, and a lot of games, because I played so many games when I was younger. So it's just, sort of statistically, they dominate everything else. There's places, there's times, and there's people. There's all that stuff, and it's possible. It'd be unlikely if games constituted a majority of thoughts that I have in my head and memories, but there's a big amount of space in my head and in my memories that point towards games, and there were a few of these thoughts connected with games that kind of chained up. One game pointed to another, pointed to another. They reminded me of one another in kind of a chain, and I didn't know how they fit chronologically in terms of my actual experience of playing them, but I kind of wanted to chase it up, and that's why I think of it. It sounds pretentious, but privately, it was like I was conducting an experiment, seeing where this would take me, following this sort of chain. Anyway, that's kind of off topic, but it was when I was doing this, and this just meant that I was all it meant was the games I was playing. I was choosing based on these whims, which is, I suppose, what, let me pick this off my tablet, what we do anyway, what I would do anyway. If you've got a library, or, as was true at the time, an emulator, and I wasn't playing all these games on emulator, although actually I was playing quite a few of them on emulator, on a PlayStation emulator, which was a pain in the arse. It's really hard to get it running. I don't recommend it. Maybe it's easier now. I found it very difficult to source files for it and just set them up. Anyway, I'd forgotten I was doing so much of that on emulator. Now that I'm working with the real stuff, I'll have to do it all again. I'm saying that rather performatively, because the truth is that I'd already started I've suspected for quite a long time that the the deliberateness, that's definitely not right, how deliberately I set about doing this, pretentiously or not, um, at the time I was playing these games, was sufficient, and the place I was playing them, um, which I'll leave aside, was sufficient to, the focus of doing this, and the decision to do it, and the kind of imaginary goal was sufficient to create a very specific atmosphere that I now remember, and that is now a thing, a place, a feeling that I'm reminded of. So I've had a suspicion for quite a while now that, you know, if you're if you're not interested only in nostalgia, because I'm not, and I don't think of it in those terms purely. Um, I think talking purely about nostalgia all the time is reductive. It's not to say that it's not to deny that nostalgia plays a part. Memories are privileged. They present as valuable on the face of it in a way that sort of things experienced in the moment don't. So if that's nostalgia, that privilege, that status that memories have, then that's fine. But to say that it's only that is, I think, not the whole story. Um, so if you're not interested only in nostalgia, and you return to these experiences, this media, these games, these books, this music, um, or these places, if you return to them critically and you engage with them as the person you are, and you bring all of your, you pay attention, and you don't just play with your nostalgic part of your head, then you'll create um, as vivid an experience to recall again. um, so it's maybe safer just to regress purely, and not add any more problematic links in the chain, because you can only go back to so many points. And I was playing this game. That is. um, that's the. That's all, I suppose. I don't even remember when I originally played this game. Uh, if it was not, in fact, Wario Land 2. um, and for some reason, the memory of this game originally seems like there's an oddity to it, there's a weirdness about it, there's a strangeness about it. And I can't investigate that anymore right now. It's not like Digimon World, where I can actually sort of substantiate the uncanny elements of the game. My best guess would be that I only remember elements of this game from when I first played it, or that I don't remember how I played it, and that is how the memory presents as strange to me. And I remembered it being a really fun game, so that was um, those were good enough reasons for me to play it when I did replay it a couple of years ago. Let me think, it's probably more like 3 years ago now. 2016, at least 3 years ago. Seems like a lot of time. It's nice doing this. I feel like I should do this more often, do it this way. I'm sitting in my reading chair, as I call this chair. It's an air call I got on a good deal at the Barras. And I've got a beer, an alcohol-free beer, all the same. I actually feel relaxed, and I kind of feel like it's just flowing. But that's probably enough. Wario Land 3, you know, it's good. It's a game.